Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name's Tyler, and this is Jehovah's Truth. What happened here? Um, this is Jehovah's Truth. I have quite an interesting topic for you. Yesterday, I was going to watch a video titled Seven Bizarre Details about the Trump's uh, attempted assassination with Trump. Here, let me try to share my screen. Okay. Share. Perfect. But yeah, this should be pretty wild. But before we start, okay, I want to say something. I've been hearing a lot recently about Joe stepping down in the presidential election race because of some say it's because of COVID, others say it's because of what was it? Oh, the Democrats with all the chaos that's going on in the Democratic Party. A lot of the Democrats basically pressured Biden to step down. Let me see if I can move this. Perfect. Got a little bit of stuff. Wife's currently cleaning right now, but yeah, this is pretty crazy stuff. I was digging, and I found on Google under USA Today it said Biden's COVID symptoms almost completely resolved. His doctor says. So I clicked Wednesday, according to a White House press release, and they've really lied to the American people the entire at all. His pulse, blood pressure, respiratory rate, and temperature remain normal, his doctor, Kevin O'Connor, said in the release. His oxygen saturation is excellent and all those are markers of recovery and general health. Biden continues to perform his presidential duties, though he has canceled all public appearances since the presidential race. Biden said he would not give up. He wouldn't give up. He promised. Or his vice president Kamala Harris said the biggest thing I'm having an issue with is says here a paragraph that is he's basically healing really well, but at the end of we read remain clear, which means other thing. I believe it was a fear tactic by the deep state. It's a long story, but also it says here, though he has canceled all public appearances since Wednesday. My question is, if Biden is recovering like they say he did or is, why on earth does he have to cancel all his public appearances? Why? That doesn't make any sort of sense to me. None at all. So I came to the conclusion that maybe Joe Biden died. Maybe, because it's so odd that he, like I said, he had to cancel all of his public appearances, all of them. But anyways, yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on that. But yeah, I want to show you guys this video. This video right here. 7 bizarre details on Donald Trump's assassination. This is about a little over half hour long, so we'll just kind of get through this together. I'm going to start over from the very beginning. I'm going to pause it. Oops. Yeah. All right. Source. Here we go, guys.
There are many strange details regarding the shooting of former President Donald Trump, and a lot has come out days afterwards. We're going to break down some of the more bizarre details and unknowns from this past week. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. It has been quite a week so far in the aftermath of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump out in Butler, Pennsylvania, when a shooter identified as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks opened fire, ultimately wounding Donald Trump, critically injuring two others, David Dutch and James Copenhaver, although they are reportedly in stable condition, but also tragically killing 50-year-old Corey Comparator. And he was apparently
Really good friend of mine. Just saying.
shielding his wife and children from gunfire that day. By the way, I have to tell you, there were GoFundMe pages that were set up for both Corey and for the Butler victims in general. I want you to listen to this. Corey's, at the time of this recording, is almost at $1.3 million raised, where there was a goal of just $7,000, and over $5.4 million has been raised for the families in general, in total. That is incredible support. But there are a lot of weird aspects to this shooting as the FBI is investigating this. And to be clear, this is a rapidly developing story, an evolving story. So what we're discussing with you right now is based on the information we currently have. Things could always change, but let's talk about this. We have been breaking down this story, this shooting.
All right. Before we continue this video, I would like to say that I don't know how you guys feel about conspiracy theories, whether you think they're ridiculous or not. I'm all about conspiracy theories. I love them because in some cases, conspiracy theories are true. They really are. But actually, you know what? Let's see if we got any comments here. I see anybody, if anybody's viewing right now, because that would be lovely. Well, not yet. Well, yeah, let's go. Here we go.
The details all week. And we kind of want to summarize what we know at this point, the outstanding questions, what we can expect. So first, let's lay out how on earth this happened. I mean, authorities say that Crooks was able to scale a building that was on the outside security perimeter of this pro-Trump rally. It's the American Glass Research Building. Sets up an AR-15 style rifle about 150 yards away from Trump's podium where he was giving a speech, and opens fire within minutes of Trump.
Okay, so I would have to agree with this gentleman here. I also had that question. How on earth was this young man able to walk into the Trump rally or even around it with all of the security personnel there and he had a rifle. He scaled it. He went to the top of the roof and he got in position. And I'm pretty sure people were yelling to the police officers at the Secret Service, or even both, that the gentleman, Mr. Crooks, had a gun, and nobody did anything about it. They just let him get up there and fire his shots off.
Speech at about 6:10, 6:11 p.m.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
He's on top of the roof. Don't go over there. He's on the roof, buddy.
He's dead. I just seen his hair go up my on the head.
Oh.
Now, this shooter was instantly neutralized by a Secret Service counter sniper team. And I got a hands off to the Secret Service, who immediately, as soon as the shots rang out, swarmed onto Donald Trump to protect him, shield him from any continuing gunfire. You want to talk about heroes? You want to talk about selfless actions? That's a prime example.
Okay. Let me zoom out here because I'm going to switch the window. Okay, let's take a look back here. So my opinion about this was, like I said, the fact that this gentleman was allowed to get up on this roof, it seems like he was permitted to do it. He was able to get up on this roof and fire off shots. My issue is, I believe I said earlier in the live stream that I did yesterday. I had to stop that live stream early. My little ones were being very, very rowdy. But that's the thing about parenthood. I love it. But anyways, like I said, the issue I have with this is I've played a lot of Call of Duty. I've played quite a bit of Battlefield. I have played Rainbow Six Siege, and most certainly I played Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. Okay, all of these video games that I have played have had one thing in common, but especially Splinter Cell. And in Splinter Cell, you play a Sampter, and you're on the hunt for this. I believe he's a terrorist. His name is Irving. Irving. Is it Irving Nicolads? Or is it just Nicolads? It might have been Nicolads. But during the last mission, Nicolads is inside of his building with his security guard. And the job of the security guard was to neutralize any threat immediately. What I'm saying is the fact that this gentleman got on that roof, he should have been neutralized right away. Right away. I don't wish death on anybody. But according to my video game playing and according to military protocol in those video games, especially Splinter Cell and Call of Duty, threats need to be neutralized. Especially when it comes to political parties, political leaders, former presidents, even, like current presidents. Threats need to be neutralized right away. And the fact that the Secret Service didn't do this, or that's what they say, the Secret Service, or the police officers didn't do this right away, bothers me. And I'm curious why it did, but why it was like that.
Now, authorities, they reportedly discovered a remote detonator or transmitter on Crook's body, as well as remote-controlled explosives, a bulletproof...
My name is Lucy, and I have to figure out who I am.
Bulletproof vest, fully loaded magazines, and a drone in his car, which was parked nearby. And investigators also found another vest, explosive materials, and a 3D printer at his home in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. So that's about 50 miles away. He had apparently been living there with his parents. And according to CNN, a joint FBI and Department of Homeland Security bulletin has revealed that Crooks had been receiving multiple packages in the months leading up to the shooting, including those marked as possibly containing hazardous materials. So first, let's start off with a major strange aspect. Big question. How was this suspected shooter even able to get into position when reporting indicates that both spectators and law enforcement at the event were aware of him? Let me expand upon that. There were reports that people saw this shooter beforehand. There's even video that is circulated online of him seemingly checking out the roof, scoping out the area. There are those who say they saw him with a duffel bag and rangefinder. Then there are reportedly people who saw him climbing the roof. For example, Ben Macer told KDKA that he saw the guy move from roof to roof and told an officer that this shooter was on the roof. When I turned around to go back to where I was, it was when the gunshot started, and then it was just chaos, and we all came running away, and that was that. Now, apparently, investigators believe that Crooks had also used a bike to check out the Butler site, and according to the New York Post, a witness saw that bike around 40 minutes before the shooting. It's being reported that senators held a briefing with top Secret Service officials, including the director of the Secret Service, Kim Cheadle, who we'll talk a lot about. And one senator, John Barrasso of Wyoming, reported that more than an hour before the shooting occurred, the Secret Service had identified Crooks as a character of suspicion because they saw him with that rangefinder in that bag.
Oh, my God. Okay. So you're telling me that Mr. Crooks had a rangefinder in his bag. He was a suspicious character, had a rifle, and he had at least an hour to prepare all of this, and no one in the security even thought of stopping him?
And then, according to Fox News, sources say 10 minutes before Trump walked on that stage, the Secret Service supposedly changed their assessment. Instead of considering Crooks suspicious, they'd apparently upgraded his status to a threat. And yet, despite all of that, the ex-president was still allowed to step onto that stage.
Ridiculous.
Why? That's a big question, right? According to another Fox report, the Secret Service agent in charge was actually on the phone with local and state police about this threat, about this guy, while the shooting was taking place. There were also reports that a sniper from a local tactical team had snapped a photograph of the gunman, saw him looking through a rangefinder. Again, this is before the shooting, then radioed that information in to a command post. ABC News reported that the shooter was spotted by Secret Service counter sniper teams 20 minutes before the gunshots rang out.
What?
And then there's reporting that a Butler Township police officer actually confronted the shooter. Apparently was hoisted up to that roof. Crooks apparently spots him, points the weapon at the officer, who then lets go of his grip and drops 8 feet to the ground.
Oh no. I can't believe that. I've watched plenty of like body cam videos of police officers, like the graphic ones, and at no point when someone whips out a gun on them do they cower in fear. I'm serious. I'll show you. I'll on my next video or a couple videos to come, I will show you an example of that because it's wild. It gets crazy. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Hold on. Let me take a look exactly to check the chats or anything. But oh hey there. Welcome to the live stream. Welcome to the live stream. This one hopefully will be very successful. But yeah, guys. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy how this gentleman here, Mr. Crooks, was able to do all of this in under or in over an hour. Like he had all this time to prepare. His status level went from a character of suspicion to a threat, and yet Donald Trump was able to get up on that platform and talk. Absolutely ridiculous. The counter snipers too. The police officer confronted him.
Now, Butler County Sheriff Michael Sloop defended this officer's action, saying he probably saved Donald Trump's life by delaying what could have been a fatal shot. Quote, can you imagine 10 seconds before that the president was looking straight ahead and where that bullet could have potentially landed?
Okay. As much as I'm giving this officer a good bashing, I would have to agree with this. I would say that the fact that officer got up and got up there and saw the Mr. Crooks, it probably spooked Mr. Crooks, and he was felt rushed. And like it says here, can you imagine that 10 seconds before that the president was looking straight ahead and where the bullet could have potentially landed? That is very true. That is very true. I'm glad at least the officer went up there to go confront him. At least.
So in total,
Hold on, guys.
the reporting indicates that Crooks first came on law enforcement's radar about, and this is approximation, but it seems to be about 3 hours before the shooting. He was apparently walking by the magnetometers, carrying a rangefinder at one point. The bottom line, how come authorities didn't stop Crooks? And more importantly, didn't stop Donald Trump from getting on that stage?
Your donation will help us.
Hello.
Your donation will help us to open more field offices.
It's going good.
To get
I
more-
absolutely hate YouTube ads.
And what complicates this, of course, is that the Secret Service director, Kimberly Cheadle, who I mentioned, seemed to at first say it was the responsibility of local law enforcement to sweep and secure the building that the shooter was perched on top of, although she has since backtracked from those comments. There's also reporting that police were inside the building, but not on the roof. And she also told ABC News that there may have been a danger to post a sniper team on the roof where the gunman was located. Quote, that building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof.
What?
But that decision and these comments are facing a lot of scrutiny. In fact, one law enforcement official said that the sloped roof could have created a visual block for the counter snipers, and that a tree may have prevented one of the sniper teams from seeing the gunman as he climbed onto the roof. Now, I had the chance to speak with former Secret Service agent Charles Marino about this. And by the way, he also acted at one point in time as senior law enforcement advisor to the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Let's hear what he had to say.
The Secret Service has the statutory responsibility to protect the former president. They also have the responsibility of not only creating, but also effectively implementing the overall security plan for the venue.
Exactly.
Let me state, this includes the inner perimeter, the middle perimeter, and the outer perimeter, because they also have the responsibility of requesting state and local law enforcement assets.
I'd like to say y'all, video right now is a little laggy. The internet's going kind of slow, but
as they do throughout the entire, to help implement that security plan. So the Secret Service owns this. They got to take the hit on this. It was their job to make sure that this building was taken out of play.
Talk to me how to make sense of the idea that he was in their sights for an hour before. They saw him as a person of interest or a suspicious character, and yet Donald Trump was allowed to take that stage.
I'm going to pause this real quick. Perfect.
You know, whenever you have a catastrophic failure like the Secret Service had on Saturday, communication. So let's go through the timeline that you around with a rangefinder that's being armed. That person's got to be located either by state and local law enforcement and then interviewed by the protective intelligence teams that are on the site. If that person can't be found, that information needs to be communicated to the protective detail. You may not want to bring the former president that far out in advance to the site at all. You may want to take him somewhere else, like a local police department, hang out. Maybe he stays on his aircraft. There's a number of options. Now, if we're talking about the 10-minute out scenario, where you're saying the Secret Service is now confirmed that this is not suspicious person, but an actual threat, then the natural question is, why does the detail bring him to stage? Why do they allow him to go up to the podium? And that's where there's going to be a lot of questions regarding the communication flow. Was it sent at all? Was the information sent at all to the Secret Service detail? Was it sent but not broadly enough and transmitted to them? Or was it ignored? And was there a decision to say, you know, we're going to take them to the stage anyway?
Now, that being said, Cheadle said that no assets from the rally were diverted on the day that Trump was shot, even though apparently there were other events in the state that required Secret Service protection. And she also said that there was no truth to the rumor. And she also said that there was no truth to the rumors that the former president's detail had asked for more resources and was denied. And as for accusations that the Secret Service role in this event was somehow partisan, Cheadle pushed back on that, saying the Secret Service is not political. People's safety is not political.
Living room.
And she also added that the Secret Service is tasked with the tremendous responsibility of protecting the current and former leaders of our democracy, and it is a responsibility.
Further away from the internet box. Yeah. Yes. So I probably should take it in there. The TV's not too loud, is it? Okay, well, I'll turn it down a little bit, okay? All right. All right, guys. I'm taking the laptop into the living room where the internet might be a little better because I feel like the video is lagging a whole bunch. We're watching Bluey. So I'm going to turn down the TV a little bit. Bingo. All right. Stop it. Okay. Here we go. Give this a shot.
That I take incredibly seriously, and I am committed to fulfilling that mission. By the way, there have been calls for her to resign, and she has indicated she will not resign from her role. We're going to talk about that a lot more and some more of the potential fallout for the Secret Service. We'll get to that in a little bit. Hey, let me just take a quick pause from Sidebar to thank Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring today's Law and Crime YouTube Takeover, America's largest personal injury law firm. Look, if you're in that position where you're hurt and you need legal representation, this may be the firm you want in your corner. Specialists in this area, a firm that has secured verdicts and settlements in the multi-millions across this country, a firm that doesn't settle for lowball offers, a firm where there is no upfront fee. You only pay them if you win, and a firm that makes the whole process so easy for their clients, because from starting your claim to uploading documents to talking to your legal team, it can all be done from your smartphone. So if you're ever been injured, you can easily start a claim by going to forthepeople.com/YouTube takeover.
Looking to skyrocket your YouTube channel? Let Sprizzy boost you to the top. Using YouTube ads, Sprizzy targets viewers who are most likely to enjoy your content and subscribe to your channel.
Before we even get into the next area, the apparent motive in this case, or what could be the motive, there is one more detail I have to get into.
Bingo.
Why didn't the sniper team immediately take the shooter out? I mentioned all the different aspects about how they might have seen him beforehand. Was there an opportunity to take him out? So I want to play you some of my conversation this past week with former sheriff's deputy and SWAT member Chad Ayers, and also former FBI agent Bobby Chacon.
Stuff circling around the internet that they asked for permission to take the shot. That is absolutely false. They, in this type of situation, they do not have to ask for any type of authority to take a shot or utilize deadly force in this type of situation. When you are assigned and you've got a former president on there and someone is laying on the roof with a long gun, the first opportunity they have, they're going to take that. So again, I don't want to Monday morning quarterback or second this counter sniper unit. There's the possibility that maybe the angle and the slant of the roof, they couldn't get a visual on him until he got to a certain position.
Now, I think that when you look at the video of the counter sniper who took the shot, they're looking in the direction of that building. And I'm pretty sure that's because they're hearing radio traffic saying somebody's on the roof, because there was some chaotic situation over there. You saw the video of people saying, a woman saying, he's on the roof, he's got a gun. I'm sure that was put over comms. When you look at that roof, it's sloped away, and I don't think the counter sniper guys could actually see the shooter yet. He was crawling up. He was on his belly, and then what happened was an officer confronted him and then retreated. He turned around with his rifle towards the officer. What that did was make the guy move quicker. Then he popped up really fast over that peak.
Okay, so the issue I'm having with this is I'm pretty sure from resources that I've heard that there was a water tower in the vicinity of this area with also a direct line to Trump. I don't know if the water tower had a line of view to the shooter, but if there was anybody like a counter sniper placed, if they would have placed a counter sniper on that water tower, this whole situation could have been prevented. Sorry, my dog is a little wacky right now.
And started shooting. That's when the guy on the sniper person, because you see them looking there, and they're probably saying, "I see the roof, I don't see anybody. I see the roof, I don't see anybody." That's because he's behind that slight roof, and then he pops up, and then he starts firing, and then they fire back.
A couple of things to note about that. So it seems that the counter sniper team that we had seen pictures of that were circulated in the media, this was the team that we had thought had neutralized the suspected shooter. It turned.
Let's see here. Anybody join? Oh, sweet. 2 people. 3. Hello, guys. I'll go back here. Thank you.
Out, they weren't the ones who took the actual shot that killed the gunman. This was apparently a different counter sniper team. But again, Bobby could be 100% right that there was a visual obstruction in their way, and that's why they didn't act quicker. And by the way, we are not putting blame on them whatsoever. They were able to neutralize this target. There is one more thing I have to mention as well. According to Brian Enton from News Nation, and this is on Twitter or X, sources within the Secret Service say the working theory right now is the Secret Service sniper did not initially shoot Crooks because the sniper thought Crooks was a
I'll let you guys know if I'm going to go look at this video again once the live stream ends. And if it's really laggy, I apologize. Like I said, my internet's kind of not working too well, or it might be my laptop. But if it is really laggy, I'm just going to redo a cut version of it, and I'll just give you guys my opinion that way. Because yeah, that's the tricky thing about live streams. Sometimes it works for me, and sometimes it just doesn't.
A police officer on the roof. Okay, so another possible explanation for what happened here. Now, I want to talk about one of the strangest aspects of all of this: motive, right? Why would crooks supposedly do this? And that is where we get into this whole other territory.
Yeah, I'd agree. Why would this gentleman do this? He doesn't look like the kind of guy that would ever do something like this, honestly. Looks like a pretty genuine earth guy. That's just my opinion.
Because it's so weird. It's so weird. The FBI is poring over his cell phone history, his online search history, digital footprint, and there appears to be, at the time of this recording, no clear motive, no apparent political or religious ideology or motivation. And as far as we know from reporting, there's no manifesto, there's no note, there's no writings, there's no social media posts that outline a motive or plan here. And that includes interviews, by the way, because apparently the FBI conducted over 200 interviews with family, neighbors, coworkers. They can't find anything.
Well, my thing is maybe the FBI was behind it. Maybe that's why they can't find anything. It just doesn't make any sense. Maybe they actually paid this gentleman to actually try to kill Trump. Maybe. I don't know. I know the FBI has done some really shady stuff.
Now, there is reporting that crooks did conduct searches online about major depression disorder. According to ABC News, Crooks had been registered as a Republican voter, but a $15 donation to this progressive group was also labeled and recorded under Thomas Crooks. This was back in January of 2021. Reporting also indicates he was a loner. He enjoyed gaming and computers. He had been maybe severely bullied in the past. Interestingly, one of his apparent instructors at a community college where he graduated in May said his homework responses were thoughtful. His email responses were polite. This is according to Reuters. So it seems the main theme is no one saw this coming. It was all unexpected. At least that's what's coming out right now. Now, I should tell you, at one point, there was reporting that Crooks had allegedly posted a message on the gaming platform Steam before the shooting where he supposedly wrote, "July 13th will be my premiere. Watch as it unfolds." But now it appears, according to the FBI, that that was fake. So we're still working on confirming whether or not that was a legitimate post from Thomas Matthew Crooks. However, there is also reporting that Crooks had searched online not only about the Trump rally in Butler, but also about the Democratic National Convention. And then on the day of the shooting, he searched Butler farm photos and a nearby gun shop in Bethel Park. There's also reporting he was searching for images of Trump, President Biden, other famous figures. So what were his targets? What would he have done if he survived that day? Something to think about. And investigators say that Crooks had visited that Butler site at least 2 times, including on the day of the shooting earlier in the day, and then left and came back. So possibly showing this preparation. In fact, ABC News also reported that someone using the suspect's name, so presumably the suspect himself, had signed up for that Butler rally a week before the shooting. Preparation, premeditation. And actually, with that in mind, CNN is also reporting that Crooks had visited the shooting range the day before the rally. They also say he went to Home Depot where he purchased a ladder, then a local gun store in Bethel Park to buy 50 a receipt. Here is again former FBI agent Bobby Chacon talking about this idea.
Hey, would you be able to toss a laptop charger? Is this thing going to die? Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay.
Motive and how strange it is we can't find one yet.
there's an implied motivation. He wanted Donald Trump dead because he didn't want Donald Trump to become the next president. I think that's kind of.
Suppose things change. This is,
kind of an implied thing. I mean, he might have hated Donald Trump for other reasons, but it's hard to see that he took this action for any other reason other than he wanted to stop Donald Trump from becoming the next president. I mean, he might have had a grievance with Trump for other past actions that Trump may have taken while he was president the first time. But this is a political assassination, and normally those things have that implied motive of you want to stop this person's political ambitions. You do normally find a lot of political ideology in the person's lifestyle and his background and his conversations with people and his associations.
Like JFK. JFK was a political issue that was taken out immediately.
With people and organizations. And so normally they are ideologues and they are hell-bent on carrying out an act of violence, a political act of violence. It's normally very apparent from looking at their background. And here they're not finding that. So there's that, and like I said, there's an implied motivation, but it could be, he was just out for fame. But oftentimes we also see indications of that in his background. He wanted to become famous because, because killing Trump obviously would make him famous.
What would have any of that mattered if he was going to die? Like, I don't really think the motive was being famous. I mean, maybe, but that doesn't sound right to me.
Or, because we had different motivations. When Hinckley shot Reagan, it was because of his fascination with Jodie Foster. It thought he would maybe be famous. The person that killed John Lennon actually was a big John Lennon fan. So sometimes these people have these ideas in their head that this act, I'm going to carry out this act, and then I would be viewed as this other person or in this way. So, that's more of a mental health expert question. Like, could it, and what is in his background might indicate that. But yeah, you're right. A political motivated attack normally has some kind of, he would be more active politically, either online or in person, and we're just not finding that right now.
Apparently drives to the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, parks the car, uses the ladder to get to the roof of the adjacent American Glass Research Building, sets up and opens fire. So Bobby,
he sets up, and I'd be careful with that because that mess is sprinkling over the equipment. Crooks had an hour to set this all up. And the thing that gets me the most about it is he hit Trump in the ear, and like people say he missed his shot, but I don't think he missed. I don't think he did. I think it was intentional, because like Mr. Corey Compouture, he got down and he was shot in his head. Perfect shot to the head. Like, ridiculous.
Talk about what his motivation was, and we see law enforcement trying to set up a timeline here. What do you take away from that?
Well, the young man was very determined. It clearly he's determined to carry out this attack with all of these steps he's taking.
Babe, I don't know. I think bingo bitter.
Cameron, what happened?
What?
You got your nail? You got it with her nail.
Oh.
Got her with his
Oh, she should be fine.
Taking this what we call pre-event planning and pre-event activity, which begs the question of why we're not seeing more rhetoric, more associations in his background that would have led somebody to believe that he was going to do this. If he was able to keep all of this rage and carrying a gun to a rooftop and shooting into a crowd and practicing the day before, I mean, you are determined. There's a lot of rage there, and to have that rage not manifest itself in prior behavior or prior acts or prior discussions is really unusual.
Now, although we reported that it doesn't seem, based on his cell phone data, his computer data, the searches, his online activity, that there are any outward political ideologies or religious motivations. But what also makes this weird about no apparent motive, no red flags, nobody seeing anything in his behavior, nothing from his online activity. Crooks was apparently also a nursing home worker. He had no criminal history. His employer, Bethel Park Skilled Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, said his background check was clean. They were shocked. Crooks was,
Clean background check.
as I mentioned, living with his parents in this suburban neighborhood in Bethel Park, about 50 miles away from the shooting.
All right. Okay. So okay. Another thing that's bothering me is earlier in the video they said that I believe this guy's name is Mr. Jesse Weber. I'm going to call him Jesse Weber. Jesse Weber said that Crooks was getting packages sent to his house. He had he had a bulletproof vest and all this stuff inside of his home. I believe he lived with his parents. And the fact that his parents, I don't think they've been charged with anything. It's more suspicious because how do they not know that all of this is going on? And if they did, and they're not being charged with it, then maybe Crooks was paid to do this. Maybe hired to do this by a government official, maybe.
And I'll tell you what, let's talk about the shooter's parents for a minute, because there's a lot of questions there too. So we're talking about Mary Elizabeth Crooks, Matthew Ryan Crooks, again of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. They are licensed professional counselors. A neighbor described them as nice people. Another neighbor came out and told the Crooks, please don't blame yourself. It was not your fault. Reporting indicates that these parents have been cooperating with law enforcement. In fact, Matthew Crooks apparently told CNN that he was trying to figure out what the hell is going on and that he would wait until he talks to law enforcement before speaking publicly about his son.
What do you mean what's going on? This kind of frustrates me. I'm lost with words. I honestly don't know what to say about this. This angers me because what he says, what the hell is going on? Really? You didn't know what was going on all this time before it happened? I'm not gonna maybe his parents didn't know what was going on, maybe, but I don't know. That doesn't make any sort of sense to me.
But it does become a question of how much they knew about what was going on with him. And it becomes interesting because it was reported this week that the Crooks, the shooter's parents, called local police hours before the shooting. They said they were concerned that he was missing. We don't know. No, more about what was said exactly and whether or not it had anything to do with the shooting or that he had access to the weapon, and also don't know what steps police took afterwards from that call. But this is where it's important, because it wasn't just that Crooks had been living with his family. Authorities have indicated that Crooks used this AR-15 style rifle to commit the shooting using 5.56 ammunition, and that this gun was purchased legally by Crooks' father, Matthew.
Okay. So apparently the Crooks' parents alerted authorities that they were concerned that their son was missing. But did they not know that the rifle was missing? I don't know if they mentioned that or not. And if they alerted authorities hours before with the detail that the rifle was missing, that should have been an immediate red flag. And the fact that they identified Crooks at the rally an hour before, at least. This isn't adding up.
Now, I've seen some reporting that the purchase was possibly 6 months ago. I've seen other reporting indicating it was further back, years ago. But the gun was apparently registered to the father. And in fact, it reportedly was one of 20 guns that were registered with Mr. Crooks, the father here, all kept in the home. And my understanding, no permit or registration is required under Pennsylvania law. That's my understanding. And my understanding also is that Pennsylvania doesn't require gun owners to store their weapons safely. So it's also being reported that Thomas Crooks, the perceived shooter here, and his father were members of a local shooting club called the Clareton Sports Club. But here's the question in all of this. Are the parents legally responsible, especially when you consider what was found at the home? Remember I mentioned?
Yes, I would say they're legal. They would have to be. They would have to be. His AR is missing. He's got about 20 guns and an AR is missing and he doesn't realize that? They're not put up safely. They're not put away.
Mentioned all those materials that were found in the home, the packages. Why do I ask that? You remember Jennifer and James Crumbly out in Michigan, the parents of the Oxford High School shooter? They were convicted of involuntary manslaughter.
What?
They purchased the weapon in that case that was used in the mass shooting. And they were also convicted for their failure to properly store the weapon, keep it out of their son's hands. The jury said in that case it was foreseeable that that could happen. Now, of course, there were some egregious facts in that case, right? The idea that on the day of the shooting, they were called into the school because of alarming drawings of their son, but they didn't take him out of school. They didn't use a cable lock on the gun. They didn't tell the school about the gun, that the shooter told his family he heard voices, that the shooter had asked his father, James, for help to take him to the doctor, but James apparently told him to just suck it up. So we have some really bad facts in that case to establish that it was foreseeable. But
Babe, could you grab Cameron? Do they have another sucker anywhere? No? No.
This case, are we talking the same thing? Is it different? Well, talking Michigan, I spoke to Charlie Langton this week, and this is a Michigan attorney, legal analyst, anchor for Fox 2.
I'm gonna go see if anybody's viewing right now. That'd be really neat. Oh, cool. What's up, everybody? Huh? Oh, we'll get you another one.
Detroit, WWJ News Radio, and I asked him about whether the parents could face criminal charges in any way.
I'll give you the short answer is no. And I looked at the very same thing because it struck me, the first thing that struck me was that the father in the Crumbley case bought the gun for Ethan Crumbley, the shooter. And then the father in this case bought the gun for his son, the Trump shooter. But there's a big difference here. Ethan Crumbley, the shooter at the Oxford High School, was 15 years old. But that's not the case here. He was 20 years old, an adult who under, as I understand Pennsylvania law, I don't practice there, but it's similar to Michigan, is that there's no duty on the part of the parent to take care of an otherwise healthy 20-year-old.
You don't believe, even though he was living with them, right, that the parents have any kind of responsibility for storing the gun or for what happens with that gun, right?
No, because there's a superseding cause here is that the 20-year-old, is an adult, the 20-year-old took the gun and shot at Trump and killed.
No, I'm sorry. I don't agree with this attorney one bit. The parents knew that the son was receiving packages. They how did they not know about the bulletproof vest or anything like that? How did they not know? If it was me, I would say that would be an obstruction of justice. It sends alarms, and the fact that I didn't hear from this entire thing that the father of Mr. Crooks even told the authorities that the rifle itself was missing.
Other people. And let's assume for the moment that the father was grossly negligent, although I don't know how having 20 legal guns purchased legally, presumably stored legally, although I don't know that. But assuming all that was, I don't even know how you're going to get over the first prong of recklessness or certainly gross negligence. And there's no legal duty imposed, unlike Crumbley. See, Crumbley, you've got to go the extra way. When you've got a minor, the parents have a duty. And if you breach that duty, then yes, you cause the injury. It is foreseeable, as you just said.
Well, I mean, that's true. These two parents here, they had the responsibility of keeping firearms away from their kid. But I mean, still, it's like the potential obstruction of justice for me.
That a minor might get a hold of an illegally stored gun, especially a minor with some mental illness, and then go out and kill someone.
Yeah.
This is not the case here. And I don't read that into the jury instruction that you've got in Pennsylvania.
You know, in the Crumbley case, you was very clear, at least to me and clear to the jury, that it was foreseeable that not only he could gain access to the gun, but he would commit a school shooting in that neighborhood. Isn't there something for the legal analysis to say this happened 50 miles away?
Most traditional buy now, pay later options have 4 fixed payments.
So when you talk about the location of the crime, Isn't that ever come into a factor that this wasn't somebody who took out a weapon and used it at a school, but the allegation was that he took the weapon and then traveled 50 miles to a political rally and opened fire on the former president of the United States? Would you say that matters in the foreseeability analysis?
Yeah, but it helps. It helps the parents of the guy. Be my defense.
Sure. Yeah. No. Absolutely. If they did have knowledge that he was building explosives, if they did have knowledge that he could gain access to the gun, if they even knew what he was planning to do but didn't do anything,
thanks, babe.
Could then this be a different kind of case?
Yes, I think it could be a different case. And the facts that we're changing, because we're speculating
Bingo.
now.
Get away from there.
If the dad or mother knew that this guy was building up bombs or acquiring weapons and acquiring ammunition, and maybe, I need a little more facts here, but maybe he suggested he didn't like Trump. He didn't like politicians or something like that. I could see a better case being made for the prosecution.
Now, I'm going to move on to another point. Did Crooks act alone? Did he have help? Was there a second shooter? The reason this is...
That's a very, very, very good question. Hold on. My charger fell out. Stop it, Bingo. Okay, let's see.
This has come up, or one of the reasons, is because Catalin Gregoris, director of the National Center for Media Forensics at the University of Colorado in Denver, and Cole Whitecotton, senior professional research associate at the same institution, they analyzed audio of the shooting, and they concluded that the first 3 shots were consistent with alleged weapon A, the next 5 were consistent with alleged weapon B, and the final acoustic impulse was emitted by a possible weapon C. And the audio also confirms that the shooter was on a rooftop about 393 to 492 feet away. Now, someone said, is that weapon C from another shooter? Was it another Secret Service sniper? And according to the Washington Post, 2 audio experts, Rob Mayer of Montana State University and Stephen Beck Audio Forensics, counted a total of 10 gunshots. So the first 8 shots had similar acoustic characteristics. They were fired within 6 seconds. Then there was a 9th shot from an apparent different area, and 16 seconds later, there was a 10th shot. Now, the last 2, they say, had different audio characteristics from the first 8, but they also say that audio in and of itself can't tell you exactly where the shots come from. There is something to note about this, though, and as Fox News reported, there is that photo of the pair of U.S. Secret Service counter snipers. They aren't the ones who apparently killed the gunman. There were 4 counter sniper teams that day, and this other team had neutralized the shooter. And apparently a member of local law enforcement had also engaged the shooter, seeming to mean that this local marksman had fired a shot. So with that, here once again is former SWAT team member Chad Ayers talking about this concept of, was Crooks acting alone?
I would say absolutely not. I don't believe he was acting alone at all. I've got 10 minutes left on this, too.
I can understand where people are coming from on this, but obviously the audio acoustics, it can do strange things. We've all been in baseball stadiums when fireworks go off, or obviously I've been involved in deadly force encounters and shootings multiple times in my career. Echo, the ricochet. Now, keep in mind, a lot of what we are hearing as outsiders, there's microphones involved all over that stage, so we're hearing different delays and things like that. As I have watched this video, I mean, Jesse, it seems like 1,000 times by now. Yes, I feel like it's consistent with the initial fire from the shooter, taking his rounds, followed by the counter sniper team's rifles, and then likely that last one they are hearing is the locals counter sniper taking that shot. The DA's reported that gentleman's been placed on leave. Also, the sound aspect, right? You might have a mixture of these counter sniper guys who have suppressors on their rifles, which I would assume many of them do. Your local counter sniper may not have had a suppressor on his rifle, so you're going to get different audios through that feed. But again, at the end of the day, I am confident we are still working with one shooter and multiple law enforcement shooters.
But it's not just that, because there was reporting from a former classmate of Crooks that he had failed to make the school's rifle team back in the day because he was such a bad shot. So does it make sense that Crooks was able to take that shot? Wouldn't that be really difficult? Also, I mentioned all of the explosives and the bomb-making materials. A 20-year-old guy, no criminal history. How does he know how to do this? No help? Well, I asked Chad Ayers about this, and I asked also, once again, Bobby Chacon, former FBI agent. Let's hear what they had to say.
He's proned out. He's laying out. He's stabilized that rifle. I could take my 4-year-old nephew, and in about 20 minutes, I could lay him behind that rifle, steady it, tell him to put it on this target, pull the trigger, and it's going to go there. It is not a tough shot whatsoever, especially with a 5.56 caliber assault rifle. Very easy. I know we mentioned it Monday. I am looking forward to knowing what type of scope he had. Was it a magnified type of scope? Was it a red dot? What was that? Not that it changes a lot, but it does change a little bit. But
What? Look, I am no shooting expert, but like I said, me and my wife play a lot of Call of Duty, and your optic means everything almost. Like if you're a sniper, you want a really good optic on it. Something that could zoom in real close and prevent a lot of idle sway. That just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know, but apparently this gentleman here is an expert, but sometimes we can't trust the information we're given. So take it with a grain of salt.
At the end of the day, whether it's a good shot or not, the only reason former President Trump is alive today is because he turned his head, period. Think about a lot of these mass shootings or school shootings, right? You've got 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds that carry out the most heinous crimes ever. These crimes 100% can be committed by a solo person without any help at all.
I mean, our guys are digging into it. Our forensic examiners, our computer forensic examiners are good at that. So, if he was able to use, this was a young man, he knows computers. He's of the age that he grew up with them. And so, if he was using some kind of, dark web to hide his search histories and stuff, our guys usually find that stuff. And so hopefully something like that happens, because I don't know where, unless you somehow got a hold of a bomb making manual, and I don't know how you do that either. Obviously stuff's readily available on the internet, which leads a trail. If you're not finding that trail, I don't know how a 20-year-old young man without prior military training or any kind of training would know to get those things and how to even crudely assemble them.
Exactly. The FBI says they can't really find any sort of motive, nothing like that. How does this gentleman know how to do all this? Make bombs, explosives. It just, this is like the title says in this, 7 bizarre details on Donald Trump's assassination attempt. Yeah, very bizarre. Very bizarre.
Now, I do have to mention this as well, that it is being reported that at the time of Crook's death, he was wearing a T-shirt from Demolition Ranch, which is a YouTube channel, has 11 million subscribers. It apparently features videos of guns and explosive devices. So was there something from there that he was able to learn how to do all this? But I will tell you, and this is important to note, that the founder of Demolition Ranch, Matt Carricker, released a statement saying they were shocked and confused to find this out. No matter what side you're on politically, none of us want violence. This channel was never meant to incite violence or hate.
Good on those guys.
And what is also interesting as we think about whether or not Crooks had communicated with anyone is that apparently Crooks had 2 cell phones. Yeah, there was one that was found near his body, and there was a second phone located at his home back in Bethel Park that had reportedly just 27 contacts on it. So if this reporting is true, I imagine investigators are going to track down those people. So let's go back to how this happened. How was a 20-year-old able to expose these vulnerabilities that day? Why were there vulnerabilities? Great question, right? Well, there are apparently multiple investigations happening right now. We know we have the FBI regarding the shooting, looking into the shooter. But we also have multiple investigations that have been opened up by the Department of Homeland Security.
Can't trust the FBI, just saying. After what happened to Kennedy, can't trust them.
Security's Office of Inspector General, looking into the security of the event, the planning, the counter sniper team's preparedness. And Congress is also jumping in as well. In fact, Director of the Secret Service, Ms. Cheeto, she will be testifying next week in front of the House Oversight Committee. And here once again is Charles Marino, former Secret Service agent, on what we can expect from these investigations, especially what we can expect might happen with the Secret Service director.
It's no surprise that at the DHS level, we're now seeing the Inspector General get involved.
Wait a
They will
minute.
conduct.
Okay. Babe, I got a question for you. Look at this guy's eyes. Doesn't he look like he's been smoking?
I'm not gonna assume.
They're pretty bloodshot. Looks like he's been to Snoop Dogg's house a little bit.
They look red.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he's under some stress.
Their own independent investigation. And then you also have the hearings of Congress that we spoke of, but you also have calls by Congress for now an independent commission. So you could have essentially 3-4 simultaneous investigations going on. The big thing is how quickly do these
Wait. All right. Okay. Okay, okay, maybe I'm overthinking this, but the way that the blood on Trump's face, the way it's facing in the direction, it looks like his ear was hit from behind. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it wasn't, but that's what it looks like.
investigations move?
Bingo.
Because the
Out.
longer this
Out.
stays out there, the more the conspiracy theories gain traction. So it's important for all of these investigations to move very quickly. But the Secret Service will not be allowed, as much as they may want to, already been told to stand down from looking at themselves and assessing themselves. They are now at the mercy of 3-4 external mechanisms to investigate.
Knock, knock. Hi there. I'd love to show you what a K-12 powered school is really like.
Investigate the agency.
But in terms of putting a spotlight on the Secret Service from these multiple different investigations, what could happen?
Well, first, they're going to look at what went wrong. They're going to look at the operational security plans, the number of agents that were there, the number of Secret Service uniform division officers, special operations teams were there, counter snipers, counter assault team. Were they purely?
Yeah, I would love to know what went wrong in this.
Secret Service teams, or were they a hybrid where Secret Service was married up with state and local resources? Like we're hearing, how many police officers from what jurisdictions were requested to come in and support that outer perimeter area? So that visit itself is going to be under a microscope to look at what went wrong there. That's one area they're going to look at. Then they're going to start looking at more systemic things. What are the hiring practices of the Secret Service? This director happens to be very big in DEI. She implemented a program called the 30 for 30 campaign when she became director. That is, she wants the Secret Service workforce to have 30% females by the year 2030. The big question is going to be, in order for her to meet that quota,
I'm sorry, but the Secret Service, they need, like, for instance, with Trump, I'm pretty sure from what I've heard, Trump is a pretty big guy. He's like 6'3", weighs a little over 240. Could you grab Tuxie from Bingo?
Bingo, no. Get now. Bingo.
Okay. But yeah, he's a pretty big guy. They should have Secret Service that are at least Donald Trump size. All right, they're playing by the PlayStation, about to knock it over. Would Bingo be able to go outside, babe? Okay, thank you. But yeah, they need big dudes to guard Trump. And nothing against women in the workforce at all, but when I saw the women that were guarding Trump, they were a lot smaller than he was. Secret Service has to be able to shield Trump easily.
She put in place had she lowered standards throughout the agency. So naturally, they're going to then go on to training. Is training still the world-class training that it was when I went through? And they're going to look at operations. They're going to look at resources. And this is where the Department of Homeland Security comes into the conversation. Is the Department of Homeland Security giving the Secret Service the resources that it needs to carry out their zero-fail mission?
He's back.
Director Cheadle, there are calls for her to resign. A, do you think she will resign? Do you think that's the right call for her to resign? What's your take on it? And if she doesn't resign, could she be fired? And how could she be fired? What's the protocol there?
I think she should be charged.
So I don't think she'll resign. She has said she has no intention on resigning. Yes, she can be fired. She is a presidential appointee, non-confirmed by the Senate. So it would likely be a joint decision between her immediate boss, the Secretary of Homeland Security, and the President of the United States. What I think is the focus now needs to be on the U.S. Secret Service. The agency has to come out of this stronger than before this situation took place. They need to make sure that they have everything that they need to do their job, as I already said. And I think at this point in time, it can't be about the individual, the director, who has already come out and made too many statements that just fly in the face of common sense. So I think it's undercut the credibility of the agency enough. I think the attention has been too much on her. And I think it really needs to be on the agency right now to make sure that they're able to do their important job, not just for they protect, but ultimately for democracy.
All right, so that is what we have right now. This story is evolving. This story is changing. We are getting new information. This is what we have right now. But of course, we will continue to follow the latest in this shooting that should never have happened. That is all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. See you next time.
Well, yeah, I agree that shooting should have never happened, but I really hope at the bottom of this. I just want to say thank you for everybody that's joined the live stream. Again, I'm going to be looking over and seeing if the video content itself was lagging at all, and if it was, I'm going to redo the video, but I'm going to pre-record it and do some cuts of myself in the video. So thank you guys. God bless you all. And the Coleman